And so moving along, let's look ahead for 25-26. Within our changes for 25-26, there are 2 new collections and 1 significant change to the CalPADS data for 25-26. The program changes are going to be 1 for the new expanded learning programs or ELP data collection. Also new is the attendance recovery or AR program with a data collection component. And then we have a change, which is hopefully a change for the better, of the change in migrant reporting of migrant students. These 3 changes are briefly described in the following slides. LEAs should refer to the forthcoming flashes for more detailed information about these 3 changes. And again, all 3 changes will be discussed in detail at our May regionals. Please note that your LEA program directors have already received information about these 3 programs though. So for the new expanded learning program collection, beginning in 2025, LEAs must collect student level data for students enrolled in and attending one of the following expanded learning programs. There is Expanded Learning Opportunities Program or ELOP. There is the ACES program for after school education and safety. And then there is the CCLC for the 21st Century Community Learning Centers. Again, these 3 programs will be added to CalPADS for data collection for 25-26. The new expanded learning program record, again, will be added to the code set for students who enroll and register for an ELP. The new field will be added to the SPRG or student program file to collect the number of days a student attended an ELP program. LEAs should report 0 if an enrolled or registered student attended 0 days of the program. The ELP program record must have a start and end date within the student's enrollment. However, the LEA should report the total number of days a student attended any of the ELP programs administered by the LEA between July 1st, 2025 and June 30th, 2026. The specifications for the changes have been shared and vetted with your SIS vendors. To prepare for the new ELP collection, LEAs that already collect data for ACES or 21st Century and have systems that collect attendance for these programs should ensure those vendors are able to submit data to the LEAs in a manner that enables the student information systems to report the required data to CalPADS. LEAs that do not currently have a system that collects attendance for ELP programs should determine how this data will be collected in a manner that enables the SIS vendors to submit the required data to CalPADS. So again, in summary, for the expanded learning program, again, just ensure that 1, how is your LEA already collecting this information? And if so, is it easily collected in your SIS based on the parameters that the program office has set forward? If not, we would recommend starting at how will this information then be collected and inputted into your SIS system so you as the CalPADS administrators can be able to easily send this information up for reporting purposes within the program file. Again, there is more information that will be forthcoming and will be released in a flash for the expanded learning program. Moving on to the new attendance recovery program. Please note again, For this slide, there is a forthcoming information that will be delivered to you in the flash, and then there's also additional forthcoming information from the CDE's School Fiscal Services Division. Senate Bill 253 added Education Code 46210, which established the new Attendance Recovery Program, or AR. LEAs may begin to participate in this new program beginning July 1st, 2025. Our CDE's Fiscal Services Division, or SFSD, is responsible for any changes regarding the reporting of ADA for this new program and for drafting any audit guide procedures. Their contact information for these procedures is listed above. Please note, many of your LEA program directors have received this information, and you should codify your local practices with them. For AR changes to CalPADS, there will be a new field for total number of AR days that will be added to your STAS file for the 25-26 school year for EOY 3 submission. For the student's absence summary file, it is to capture the total number of days as defined by statute in the academic year in which a student participated in an attendance recovery program. The total number of days reported in the field is capped at 10 days per student per LEA, or the number of absences a student accumulated within the LEA, or whichever is fewer. The CalPADS office has facilitated meetings with SFSD and your SIS vendors so that they understand the changes that would have to be made to accommodate the reporting of ADA and the reporting to CalPADS. Vendors have reviewed the file specifications and other documentations for this change. LEAs will certify this data as part, again, of their 2026 EOY 3 submissions. Again, please refer to the forthcoming flash for additional information, and we will rediscuss in our May regionals. Also, for the AR program, this data will be used to publish the alternative chronic absenteeism rate, which will be published in late 2026 following the EOY submissions. At present time, the 2026 dashboard chronic absentee indicator will not be affected by this data. This data will be used to calculate an alternative chronic absenteeism rate that will be posted for DataQuest. I'll pause now to see if we have any questions for AR.
So,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, Sean. There was a question that I just want to expound on a bit, if that's okay, because I think it's information that's useful now versus waiting till May. And that just has to do, there's a question related to expanded learning programs and whether or not, if they already collect attendance for expanded learning programs in an alternate system, that they would have to get that data over to their student information system. And that's exactly right. So for those LEAs who have ACES or 21st Century, you're already used to collecting very detailed attendance data for students in those programs. And often many of you have vendors that do that, that's separate from your student information system vendors. In fact, we met with about 10 or 12 of them a couple months ago because we wanted to make sure they understood what data they would need to give to the LEA's student information system so that the SIS would have the data needed to give to CalPADS. And it was a really great meeting. They didn't think it was a heavy lift. They thought they would be able to do that. So if you already have a vendor who is collecting attendance data for your expanded learning programs, you're probably in decent shape, but you definitely will have to make sure there's this coordination of handing data over to the SIS to get to CalPADS. However, if you don't have such a system, and it's going to mostly be those LEAs that have ELOP, have Expanded Learning Opportunity Program money, which is an entitlement It's not a grant. So you're getting money for those students, and there hasn't ever been any reporting requirements regarding attendance. So you might be kind of more starting from scratch. So you need to really start figuring out how you're going to make sure you collect attendance for those ELOP programs. And you might, reach out to your student information system vendors. As we've talked to them, I know they're thinking, well, maybe that's something they can maybe help with a bit. So it's stuff that you probably need to start figuring out now, given that you can start reporting days beginning July 1. And I just also wanted to, explain that the reason why this is all the legislature wants this information is because we're spending a lot of money, billions of dollars on expanded learning programs right now, and we don't really know how many students are participating, especially in the ELP programs. And that's why a day attended is very loose. It's you attend 5 minutes is counted as one day. But the main distinction that's a little different from our other program records is that you're supposed to submit a program record for any student who has registered or enrolled in a program. The ELLP statute requires LEAs to enroll students. However, there's no reporting requirement as to if they actually participated. So that is why program record is when a student is enrolled or registered for an expanded learning program. But the days attended, if that student never shows up at all, then you would report 0. And I think, there's some concern that a lot of students do register, but they don't actually ever participate or enroll. So that's just a little context of that program, which is very different than the attendance recovery program, which is a completely different, we're not collecting that the program record, we're collecting that on the staff's file, and there's lots of rules around attendance recovery. So I encourage you on that one to look at the landing page for the AR program, get familiar with those requirements.
Thank you so much, Paula. I've got one question to be able to answer live because we need to move on in the interest of time for our other presenters. How can you get a copy of this training? The PowerPoint has been posted. It is throughout the chat link. Please feel free to download a copy there. The video presentation, as we mentioned in the beginning, it is posted on our CSIS YouTube web channel within the coming weeks. We announce this information throughout our CalPADS Digest and also during the CalPADS Wednesday Q&As. Well, for our last program change that we'll discuss for this regional, there is being a change that is going to be made for your migrant student data. Beginning in 25-26, LEAs will no longer need to receive information from their migrant regions and submit to CalPADS students who are migrant. Thank you for the applause. We appreciate it. Instead, CalPADS will receive statewide migrant data from the Migrant Student Information Network, or the MSIN, and provide reports and extracts to LEAs as which of their students are migrant. The migrant program record will be retired for 25-26, meaning you won't submit 25-26 migrant data, as LEAs will no longer be able to submit it because we will provide that information to you. CalPADS will have reports identifying students who are migrant and an extract that LEAs may download and import into their student information systems. Your SIS vendors have received a draft of the extract specifications. In preparation for this change, LEAs should review your current business processes and determine how those processes will be modified to accommodate receiving the migrant data from CalPADS instead of from your migrant regions. So, in summary, this will be similar to how your foster youth data is provided to you, but actually even better, because we not only be providing you the reports, but we'll be providing you an extract in which you can then upload into your SIS systems. Please speak to your SIS vendors for what that upload information will be once available. Moving forward to our CCGI reminders. LEAs are reminded for all public schools offering 9 through 12. They are required to partner with the CCGI or the California College Guidance Initiative by January 1st, 2026, and provide transcript partner accounts to your 9th through 12th grade students by June 30th of 2026. And this is per Education Code 60900F3. For more information about CCGI and these requirements, please refer to the CCGI flash number 2. I'll now pause to see if we can take a few questions before moving along. So for Tiffany, will migrant data be a match on specific data points? If so, what are those data points? Migrant data match will be specific to data points. It is going to be specific to the student SSID information, and all of those data points, they will be released in a forthcoming flash. Again, that match though that is occurring between CalPADS and MSIN, and so there is no work there that needs to be done on part of the LEA.
Right. And Sean, if I can just expound on that a little bit. We've been working for the last few years where the MSIN system actually pings CalPADS to find the SSIDs for students. So we actually don't do a match like we do for Foster. That's why we're pretty sure this data is accurate. So MSIN actually has the SSIDs of the migrant students that they identify when they're out there in the field and stuff looking for migrant students. And they're going to submit those SSIDs to us. So that's where that's coming from. So it's not exactly a match. They're actually doing what you all do actually when you're trying to identify the right student for an SSID.
And so that leads into our next question, which you've partially answered, P. It's Lou submitted a question to confirm the migrant coordinator would still need to qualify students to MSIN, correct? And
right, all of
that
that
information is correct.
Yeah, so the way that students are currently identified as migrant, that doesn't change. But the authoritative source for who is actually a migrant student is those regional workers, migrant in the migrant regions who identify students. And they actually go through a very long process to certify that the student is indeed migrant. Only those students actually get uploaded into MSIN and they identify their SSID with us. So that's why we're going to now be providing you all who those students are. Right now, most of you are supposed to be getting that same data from MSIN through your region, but rather than having to kind of all of you get the data from your region, then upload into CalPADS, we're just getting rid of all of that and making it hopefully more efficient by simply providing you all who the migrant students are.